Virgo, there is a silence that follows the slamming of a door that was never meant to be closed. It is not the silence of peace. It is not the silence of resolution. It is the silence of a room that has been suddenly, violently depressurized. The kind of silence that makes your ears ring and your teeth ache and your body insist against all visual evidence that the sound you just heard was not an ending, but a mistake. They are standing on the other side of that door right now, have been standing there for weeks. The new apartment still smells like packing tape and the chemical optimism of a landlord's air freshener. The boxes are half unpacked, not because they are busy, but because every object they pull from the cardboard is a witness against them. The mug they bought to replace the one you gave them. The sheets in a color you never would have chosen. The book they purchased to fill the shelf where your books used to stand in alphabetical order, their spines a quiet army of everything they did not appreciate until it was gone. They tried to move on. Let those words sit in your mouth like a stone. Let them taste the way lies taste when they are finally exposed to air. They tried. God, how they tried. They tried with the desperation of a drowning person refusing to admit they are still tethered to the shore they swore they were leaving. They tried with the theatrical conviction of someone who has confused running with freedom. They packed their bags. They signed the papers. They took the job in the other city, or they changed their number, or they simply stopped answering, stopped showing up, stopped being present in the architecture of a love they decided was too heavy to carry. They told themselves the story until they almost believed it, that you were too much, too exacting, too quiet, too intense, that your love was a fortress with walls too high to scale, that they needed someone easier, someone lighter, someone who would not notice when they performed instead of existed. And for a moment, a bright, brittle, cinematic moment, it worked. The moment lasted exactly as long as it took for them to get in the cab, or to unpack the last box, or to wake up in a bed that did not know their shape. And then the silence arrived. And the silence had your name on it. You need to understand what is happening to them right now, Virgo, because from where you are standing, it might look like indifference. It might look like they have successfully built a life on the other side of the absence they created. You might have seen the photos, or heard the reports, or simply intuited the performance of their moving on, and you might have concluded, with the devastating efficiency you bring to all your conclusions, that they are gone, that the chapter is closed, that you have been filed under, completed, or learned from, or worst of all, moved on from. You are wrong. They did not move on, they moved away. And those are two different countries with two different climates, and they are currently freezing in the one they chose. Let me tell you about the nights, because the nights are where the truth lives. During the day, they are functional. They have become very good at functional. They go to work, they answer emails, they laugh at jokes that are not funny, and they eat meals that are not hungry, and they perform the role of a person who has healed, who has grown, who has found themselves in the space you left behind. They have curated a narrative. They have told the story so many times that the words have worn smooth like stones in a river. It was for the best. We wanted different things. I needed to find myself. It just wasn't working. These phrases are their armor. They put them on every morning like a uniform, but the uniform does not fit at night. At night, they lie in the bed. They chose the bed that is wider than yours, or firmer than yours, or in a room with better light, and they stare at the ceiling with a focus that would be admirable if it were applied to anything productive. They are not thinking about their future. They are not thinking about their growth. They are thinking about the way you used to turn over in your sleep, the specific frequency of your breathing, the way your hand would find theirs under the covers without either of you waking. A reflex so ancient it felt like the continuation of a conversation that started before language. They are thinking about your kitchen at 7 a.m., the way the light hit the counter, the way you made coffee with a precision that looked like ritual, the way you always knew exactly how much milk was left without checking. They are thinking about the way you listened to them, not with the performative empathy of a therapist, not with the distracted half attention of a friend scrolling through their phone, but with the full, terrifying, surgical focus of someone who was actually trying to understand them, even the parts they were trying to hide. And when they think about these things, their body mutinies, their hands reach across the mattress for a warmth that is not there. Their mouth forms your name in the dark, not as a call, but as a reflex, a prayer their body has not agreed to stop saying. They wake up with the ghost of your shoulder blade under their palm, and the absence is so physical it feels like an amputation. They check their phone at 3 a.m., 3:11 a.m., 3:33 a.m., not because they expect you to have texted, but because the phone is the only object in the room that connects them to your digital orbit, and touching it is the closest they can get to touching you without admitting they are still addicted. They tried to replace you. This is the part that will make your jaw clench. They went out, they swiped, they accepted invitations. They sat across from strangers in restaurants, and they performed the rituals of new connection. They laughed at the right moments. They shared the appropriate amount of vulnerability. They went home with someone whose name they have already forgotten, whose body felt like a foreign country with no map, whose touch made them feel not desired but exposed, as if the new person was looking at them through the wrong end of a telescope and seeing only the surface, while you had always seen the core. Every replacement failed, not because the replacements were bad people, not because the replacements were unattractive or unkind. They failed because none of them were you. And you, Virgo, are not a collection of traits that can be replicated. You are a specific frequency. You are a tuning fork that was struck once in their presence, and now everything else sounds like static. They have tried to retune their ears. They have tried to convince themselves that the static is music, but their body knows. Their body remembers the exact resonance of your attention, and it will not accept substitutes. So they stop trying. Not openly, not with any announcement, but the dating apps are deleted now, or they sit untouched on the home screen like gravestones. The numbers they collected are buried in the phone, never called. The hopeful introductions from friends are met with polite deflections that grow more firm by the week. They have become unavailable without being in a relationship. They have become celibate without taking a vow. They have become, by every external measure, a person who is simply taking time for themselves. But the truth is more devastating. The truth is that you broke their capacity for anyone else. This is not romantic. This is structural. You altered the architecture of their heart. You installed a standard so high that their nervous system now treats ordinary affection as a threat. When someone is nice to them, they feel panic because niceness is not what they need. They need your precision. They need your silence that is not empty but full. They need the way you would look at them across a room and know, without being told, that they were lying about being fine. They need the way you would not accept their performance, the way you would wait patient, immovable, devastatingly present until the performance cracked and the truth fell out. No one else does that. No one else has the stamina for their truth. Everyone else wants the highlight reel. You wanted the director's cut. And now that they have experienced being seen in high definition, standard definition feels like blindness. They tried to move on by moving backward. They revisited old friends, old hobbies, old versions of themselves that existed before you. They tried to reconstruct a self that was independent of your influence, a self that did not measure its choices against your standards, but the self they found was a stranger. It was a self that settled for less, a self that accepted crumbs, a self that performed casualness because it did not believe it deserved devotion. You had spent months, maybe years, quietly refusing to let them be that person. You had held a mirror up to their lowest impulses and said, "I see you, and I do not accept this version of you as final." That refusal was exhausting for them at the time. It felt like pressure. It felt like judgment. But now, in your absence, they are discovering that your refusal was the only thing keeping them from sinking back into a mediocrity they had mistaken for comfort. And they are sinking now. They are sinking fast. The old self is not a life raft. It is a stone. And they are realizing, with a clarity that keeps them awake until the edges of the morning, that the only time they have ever felt truly alive was when they were with you. Not because you entertained them, not because you completed them in the cheesy, sentimental way people talk about in movies, but because you demanded their wholeness. You required their honesty. You created a context where their bullshit was not welcome, and in that context, they became someone they actually respected. Without you, the bullshit has returned. It has taken over the apartment. It has filled the silence with its familiar, suffocating noise, and they are choking on it. They won't let you go. This is the urgent transmission. This is the part that is happening right now in real time while you are reading this. They are not letting you go. They are holding on with a grip that is invisible, subconscious, and absolutely unbreakable. They are holding on in the way they arrange their furniture, unconsciously creating spaces that would please your eye. They are holding on in the way they still buy the brand of tea you drank, even though they never drank it before you, and now they drink it alone and pretend it is a coincidence. They are holding on in the way they drive past your street, your building, the cafe where you used to meet, not because they are stalking you in a dangerous way, but because their body is a compass and you are magnetic north, and the needle keeps swinging toward you no matter how many times they recalibrate. They are holding on in their dreams. The dreams are relentless. They dream of you constantly. Not romantic dreams, dreams of emergency, dreams where they are trying to reach you and the phone won't work. Dreams where they are trying to apologize and the words come out as static. Dreams where they are back in your bed and they wake up with the physical sensation of your sheets against their skin. And the disappointment of reality is so crushing. They have to sit on the edge of the mattress and put their head between their knees until the dizziness passes. The dreams are not fantasies. They are indictments. They are their own subconscious, putting them on trial every single night, and the verdict is always the same: guilty of abandonment, guilty of blindness, guilty of throwing away the one thing that was actually real. And now the dam is cracking. This is the urgency. This is the reason you need to know this right now. They have reached the end of their ability to perform the separation. The narrative is collapsing. The armor is rusting. The silence they have been maintaining is about to break into sound, and the sound will be messy and desperate and probably not elegant, because they are not elegant right now. They are raw. They are a nerve that has been stripped of its insulation, and every stimulus is too much, and the only stimulus they want is you. They are going to reach out soon, maybe today, maybe in the hour after you finish reading this, maybe in a week, when they have worked up the courage to face the possibility of your rejection. But the reaching out is inevitable. The message is already being composed in the back of their mind, in the shower, in the car, in the meetings where they are supposed to be paying attention, but instead they are rehearsing the opening line. They have tried 100 versions: the casual check-in, the nostalgic reference, the emergency confession, the simple, devastating "I was wrong." None of them feel adequate. None of them feel big enough to bridge the canyon they dug, but they are going to send one anyway, because the alternative is to keep choking on your absence, and they cannot breathe anymore. You need to decide what you are going to do when that message arrives. Not eventually, not when the moment comes, now. Because the moment is already in motion, and if you are not prepared, you will default to your oldest pattern. You will analyze, you will accommodate, you will try to understand their position. You will meet their chaos with your calm. And before you know it, you will have let them back into the fortress of your heart without them ever having to account for the damage they did to the walls. Do not do that. I am not telling you to reject them. I am not telling you to welcome them. I am telling you to decide consciously, deliberately, with the same precision you apply to everything else, because this person is not coming back to you as a healed entity. They are coming back to you as a wound that is finally, belatedly aware of its own depth. And wounds are not inherently worthy of your care. Your care is not a public service. Your care is a resource, and resources must be invested, not donated. If you let them back in on new terms, terms that acknowledge the cost of their absence, terms that require them to rebuild what they broke, not with words, but with the slow, grinding, daily work of consistency. Terms that do not allow them to simply step back into the space they vacated as if the space has been waiting in suspended animation, unchanged and unguarded. The space has changed. You have changed. You have fortified the walls. You have deepened the foundation. You have learned to live without the draft they used to let in. And if they want to re-enter, they need to understand that the door is now climate controlled. It does not open for nostalgia alone. They won't let you go, but the more important question is, have you let them go? Be honest. Not with me, with yourself, in the quiet, in the dark, in the moments when you are not performing your own moving on. Have you let them go? Or are you still holding a space for them? A space you have disguised as closure, a space you have labeled healed, but that still has their name on the lease. Because if you have not let them go, their return will feel like relief rather than choice. It will feel like gravity correcting itself rather than a deliberate decision to re-enter an orbit. And relief is not a foundation. Relief is just the cessation of pain. And the cessation of pain can make a prison feel like a home if you have been hurting long enough. If you have let them go truly, cellularly, in the marrow where your deepest knowing lives, then their return is an offering you can evaluate. You can hold it in your hand like a strange fruit and ask, is this ripe? Is this safe? Is this something I want to eat? Or is it something that looks beautiful but will give me the same stomachache I have already survived? You can say no. You can say yes. You can say not yet and maybe not ever, and I need to see proof before I even consider the question. All of these answers are correct if they come from your true center. But if you have not let them go, if you are still carrying their mark like a tattoo you claim not to notice but press your fingers against when no one is looking, then their return will be a test you are not ready to pass. You will say yes too quickly. You will forgive too cheaply. You will accept the first draft of their apology because you are so thirsty for the sound of their voice that you will drink even if the cup is cracked. And you will find yourself 6 months from now back in the same architecture of inconsistency, the same pattern of their leaving and returning, the same wound reopened and reinfected because you never actually healed it. You just bandaged it and waited for them to come back and sign the cast. They tried to move on. They failed. That is their information. It does not have to be your instruction. You need to know that their failure does not obligate your mercy. Their suffering does not create a debt you must pay. They are sad. They are lost. They are wandering in the wilderness of their own making, and they are finally understanding that the only map out of that wilderness leads through you. But you are not a rest stop. You are not a waypoint on their journey back to themselves. You are a destination. And destinations do not move toward travelers. Travelers move toward destinations. If they want to reach you, they need to walk every mile. They need to cross the desert without expecting you to airlift them water. They need to prove that their journey is not just about escaping their own loneliness, but about becoming someone who can actually meet you at the depth you have always offered and they have only recently learned to recognize. They won't let you go, but you are not a possession to be held or released. You are a person, and your personhood includes the right to say, I am not waiting. I am not available for your regret. I have continued living in your absence, and the life I have built is not a placeholder. It is real. It is solid. And if you want to enter it, you must enter it as a guest, not as a returning owner. The urgency is real. They are coming. The message is being typed. The car is being driven. The flight is being booked. The confession is being rehearsed one final time before it breaks through the silence they have maintained for too long. And when it arrives, you will feel the old gravity. You will feel the pull of their need, the familiar weight of their chaos, the temptation to be the one who fixes, who understands, who makes it better. Resist that temptation, not because they do not deserve help, but because your help in the past became a substitute for their own growth. You cannot grow for them. You cannot heal for them. You cannot want the relationship enough for both of you. That math does not work. It has never worked. If they want you back, they need to want the full, exacting, unedited version of what it means to love you, not the version where you manage their emotions, not the version where you accommodate their absence, not the version where you lower your standards to make their return more comfortable. The full version, the version where your precision is not a flaw to be managed but a feature to be celebrated. The version where your silence is not a problem to be solved but a language to be learned. The version where your standards are not walls to be scaled but the architecture of a home they are privileged to enter. They tried to move on. The universe would not let them. The mark you left was too deep. The frequency you established was too specific. The standard you set was too high for anyone else to meet. They have been to the mountaintop, and now every other view looks like a basement. That is your power. That is the power you did not ask for, but wield simply by being exactly who you are. But power is not a reason to open the door. Power is a reason to know that the door is yours, and the lock is yours, and the key has always been yours. They are knocking. They will keep knocking. They will never stop knocking because they have discovered what you knew all along, that you are the real thing, that you are the standard, that you are the love they will measure every other love against for the rest of their life, and every other love will fail the comparison. What you do with that knowledge is your choice, and it must be a choice, not a reflex, not a default, not a collapse into the familiar because the familiar is easier than the unknown. Choose, Virgo. Choose with your whole self. Choose knowing that whatever you decide, you are not the one who failed. You were never the one who failed. You were the one who stayed. You were the one who showed up. You were the one who offered the real thing in a world full of counterfeits. And if they are finally, belatedly, desperately returning to claim what they threw away, let them claim it only if you have first claimed yourself. The door is yours. The silence is yours. The next chapter is yours. Write it in your own hand. And do not let anyone who has already proven they cannot read your language tell you how the story should end.